Over the course of Chinese history, there were two major construction projects that moved the very landscape of China. The first was the Great Wall, an extensive series of fortifications meant to keep out nomadic invaders from the north. And the second is this, the Grand Canal, a series of canals stretching over 1,700 miles across the entire country that allowed for easier transportation of people and goods between the north and the south. Today, we'll be looking at how the Grand Canal was built, why it was so important, and how it reshaped China forever. For thousands of years, there had been various canals throughout China, but nothing that connected the north and the south. Like the Grand Canal would. This project would require digging through solid rock, creating artificial lakes, and even moving entire mountains. So let's see how they did it. The earliest sections of the canal date back to the 4th century BC during the Warring States period, but it was until the Qin dynasty that the first real moves towards the Grand Canal were made. Li Si, a powerful official during the early Qin dynasty, suggested connecting the three major rivers of northern China with a canal system. It would allow the newly unified China to move grain and soldiers quickly between the three rivers and thus solidify control over the empire. Construction began in 200 BC and took 6 years to complete. It was long and hard work. Canals required regular maintenance and dredging due to silting, and many workers lost their lives in accidents. The Sui Emperor Yongdi continued construction of the canal in the 6th century, connecting the existing northern and southern canals to form one continuous waterway. But the real boom in canal building didn't happen until the 8th century, when the canal reached its greatest length under the Tang dynasty, connecting the major cities of Chang'an in the west, Luoyang in the center, and Hangzhou in the east. From here, the canal would eventually connect all the way to Shanghai on the east coast. The Grand Canal became an integral part of Chinese life. Towns and villages sprung up along the banks, and barges carried goods and passengers from one end of China to the other. It helped fuel the incredible growth of cities like Hangzhou and stimulated the economy of the entire nation. The canal also helped in the spread of culture, religion, and technology throughout the empire. In particular, the southern terminus of the canal, located in what is today Shanghai, was the entry point for much of the trade conducted with the outside world, especially after the opening of the Silk Roads. As such, it became a melting pot of cultures with merchants and missionaries coming from as far away as the Middle East and Africa. It was around this time that the canal reached its peak length of around 1,100 miles. A few centuries later, during the Song dynasty, the southern section of the canal fell into disrepair, and a new southern canal was dug further to the east, connecting to the city of Hun. Eventually, the Grand Canal connected the economic heartland of the Song dynasty, consisting of the cities of Hongkou, Ningbo, and Shanghai to the rest of the empire. During this time, the canal was widened and deepened to accommodate larger vessels. These waterways enabled an unprecedented volume of trade and made the Song dynasty one of the largest economies in the world. For instance, in 1086, the imperial government transported more than 30 million bolts of silk and more than 20 million pieces of cotton cloth via the Grand Canal. That's the equivalent of more than 260,000 tons of cargo. In 1279, after Kublai Khan founded the Yuan dynasty, he continued to improve on the canal and its infrastructure, having captured the southern Song capital of Han. One of his first acts was to open a new shipping route on the Grand Canal that bypassed the city altogether. This new route went straight to Jiaxin, which was closer to Shanghai and the coast, allowing ships to bypass Hangzhou and sail directly to the ocean. He also constructed new docks, warehouses, and post houses along the canal to facilitate trade and travel. By 1311, the entire canal system stretched more than 1,700 miles, longer than the Nile River, and was considered one of the greatest engineering projects in the world. Throughout the following dynasties, the canal remained an important thoroughfare until the 18th century, when it started to fall into disuse with the rise of large-scale manufacturing in Europe and the British East India Company dominating trade in Asia. Then came the Opium Wars, which severely damaged the Chinese economy and led to the Manchu government becoming increasingly isolated. In the Qing dynasty, the government's disregard for the canal became evident when they ordered the demolition of some canal infrastructure, believing it would prevent rebel activity. However, after the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the government recognized the strategic value of the canal. Chairman Mao declared the canal one of the 7 great projects of the People's Republic and ordered for its reconstruction. The project involved dredging, repairing locks, and building new pumping stations. After completion, the canal was able to support large barges and was still navigable for cargo ships. It was officially reopened in 1958 and remains one of the busiest waterways in the world. Today, 600 to 700 million people rely on the canal for drinking water. Over 5,000 ships pass through every day, carrying over 60 million tons of cargo per year. In fact, nearly 10% of China's total freight traffic travels along the Grand Canal. And when the Beijing to Hangzhou high-speed railway opened in 2011, it connected the two endpoints of the Grand Canal by rail, making the journey between the two cities less than 4 hours. The canal's historical significance is also widely acknowledged. It is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is regarded as one of the most spectacular examples of hydraulic engineering ever undertaken. But perhaps the best part of the canal is how it shaped China. Because of the canal, the North and the South could trade easily, leading to cultural diffusion, technological innovation, and increased economic output. Let me explain! To really understand how the canal shaped China, we need to look at the two regions it connected, the North and the South. Northern China has always been a drier region with vast open plains that were perfect for horse breeding and nomadic tribes. It was also home to China's emperors and its capital cities. Southern China, on the other hand, had a monsoon climate with thick tropical forests and fertile land for agriculture. It was here where the riches of China were generated. Rice cultivation, mining, fishing, silk weaving, iron founding, tea planting, and porcelain making all flourished here. When the canal was first built during the Qin dynasty, it primarily served a military purpose. The massive amount of grain grown in the south was used to feed the army and keep them strong in their fight against the nomadic Zhongnu in the north. The canal also allowed troops to be deployed more quickly throughout the empire, keeping the peace. But as the canal grew, so did its role in society. Under the Han Dynasty, silk, tea, porcelain, rice paper, and other luxury goods from the south flowed north to supply the imperial court and its bureaucrats. At the same time, northern horses flowed south to help expand agriculture in the lower Yangtze Valley. Before the Grand Canal, most of these goods were transported along the river systems, which was difficult and slow. The canal sped up the process. It allowed luxury goods to reach the capital quickly, giving the emperors and bureaucrats of the north access to the finest products of the south. It also brought southern Chinese culture to the north, including art, literature, and customs. Many southern Chinese settled in the north to take advantage of new business opportunities, bringing with them their language and traditions. This cultural exchange helped break down regional barriers and create a sense of national identity. But the relationship between the North and the South wasn't always smooth sailing. There were times when the North dominated the South, and vice versa. For example, during the Sui dynasty, the Sui Emperor Yangdi built the Grand Canal to move troops from the north to the south to put down rebellions. But his extravagant spending and forced labor to build the canal caused massive discontent among the populace, leading to the collapse of the dynasty. Later, the An Rebellion broke out in the mid-8th century, which devastated the canal and halted trade between the north and the south. But despite these setbacks, the Grand Canal remained a vital artery for the Chinese economy for centuries. Today, the Grand Canal serves as a reminder of China's rich history and cultural heritage. It is a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the Chinese people who built it, and it continues to play an important role in China's economy today. Visiting the canal is a humbling experience and a reminder of the importance of preserving our cultural heritage for future generations. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Grand Canal. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the canal or any other ancient engineering projects you would like to see covered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.